welcome to the second Salesian presidential debate. I'm Robert Marino, I'll be your moderator, and today we have 5 out of the 7 Salesian presidential candidates entering the debate today. So I'd like to introduce them from left to right. First we have Nickolas Branca, then we have Nickolas Massa, then we have Brito, then we have Neziri, and then lastly we have Jetmir. So first I'd like to start off with the ground rules of the debate. I'm going to throw out a question one at a time to each of you. All of you are going to get only 1 minute to answer it, but if you're in the middle of a sentence and I interrupt you when the timer goes off, just finish off your last thought, last sentence, and then we could go into the next question. Unless one of you happens to have a response or you want to question one of the other candidates, we can do that too, but just for the sake of time, not all the response times are going to be given to each of you. So with that being said, hope we could all be respectful, don't interrupt each other, and just try to act like the young, good Salesian men that we are. So, that being said, first, I'd like to start off with Joey. I wanted to ask, what do you think that a student's main priority should be at Salesian?
The main priority? I think the student's main priority here at Salesian not only is academics, or if you are an athlete, that as well, but I think as a student, morale and the student spirit, I think is very important. Having the drive to come to school, I think, is probably the biggest priority out of anything. A student at Salesian who wants to be here, who likes to put on the uniform, who wants to have friends, is very important because that will lead to better grades in the classroom, that will lead to better play on the sports, or you're playing, different sports, or making more friends, or having a better relationship with the teachers. The Salesian spirit has been taught by the administrators, by the teachers, by the other students, and I think keeping that high is a main priority by every single student here.
All right, next, I'd like to move on to Jetmir. Jetmir, as I know, you have attended a lot of Salesian events, stuff like that, soccer games, basketball games, volleyball games. So with that, I'd like to ask you, how will you as president endorse all Salesian sports that with other aspects of Salesian life, such as extracurriculars?
Well, thank you, Robert, for that question. And how would I endorse sports and extracurricular activities? The same way I've been doing when I haven't been president. I talk to the freshmen every day, I sit with them in lunch, I know what they need, and I've been encouraging them to join sports, and many of them have because of my encouragements and the encouragements of other seniors as well. And I think that as president, we have to lead, and just like Joey said before, we have to boost the morale of every student at Salesian, but especially our athletes who recently, according to their own stories, have felt let down. And I try to support them in every way that I can by showing up to their soccer games, by showing up to their basketball games, and by supporting them on the sidelines, on the field, and behind it by giving them speeches after. And I think that the morale of our athletes is extremely important to their performance on the field.
All right, next is for Brito. I'd like to ask you, Salesian has got a lot of new additions to the school, thanks to donations from Kevin Casson. So with all the new things that we got, the gym we have now, the new cafeteria that's been renovated, the new business center we have, what are you going to do to encourage the freshmen to care about these new additions to Salesian?
I think the important thing is that the freshmen need to remember that these are privileges we've been granted, along with new additions that should not only enforce our will and pride of being Salesian men, but I think they should also recognize the fact that we should be very grateful for all of these things, especially things like the Casson Commons, which even though we go to it every day, we may not think about it directly every day, and we may not see it as a new addition or something to be grateful for. And I think we just need to take a second, especially the freshmen, to just think and reflect on the fact that this school has so many great things, especially that have been added this year. And I want to tell them that all of these things should be appreciated for what they are, and they should take full advantage of the resources they get here.
I have a question for you, Daniel. So if you were to be elected president for the incoming freshmen, how would you get those students who haven't been at Salesian, even when those were renovated, like the Casson Commons or even the Humanities Center, how are you going to get them to kind of appreciate the new amenities that we have?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. It's a huge question, especially as president and also as upperclassmen. How are we going to outreach to the newer freshmen coming in, and how are we going to teach them what we learned? And I think a main goal is to tell them what was there before, what we had, show them maybe even pictures if we have it, and just directly tell them in comparison to what we had before, how much of an improvement the things are. For example, tell them about the old lunchroom compared to the new Casa Commons. Tell them about things like the esports room and how we've changed the classroom into something that's like amazing with amazing resources, and especially the business center, how we changed the library into something that could have even more potential and widespread out what we had there.
Very good. So next I'd like to move on to Nickolas Massa. I wanted to ask you, specifically, why should the students vote for you as president? What do you offer that makes you stand out from the rest of these 5 candidates?
So, my whole motto for running for president is I want the common student to have the say in everyday life. Of course, we have like all these amazing things that we just talked about, like the new wellness center and all that, but there are stuff that students say, like, you know, among each other, tiny things that if we just brought them up to the faculty, we could change it completely. And so I want them to be able to come to me or Angelo, and we could bring that idea to the faculty. So I think running just,
Now, I'd like to move on to Ms. Branca. So your question is, how would the student council be improved under your leadership as potential principal?
Everybody that joins student council has a lot of say, and we will have a lot of ideas, and we will make the school better, and not just any better. We will have a massive impact. Right? Because student council, the difference between student council and everything else in the school is that everybody that joins student council, you have a say in what you want in the school. Right? You have a say in what you believe in, and that's what's great about student council.
All right, so now, considering that all of you have pointed out the good things that we've had, the donation from Kevin Casson, the new wellness center, the renovated cafeteria, that's all great, but considering that you've identified all these things, is there anything you've seen in the school that you wish to remove or replace? That question's for Jetmir to start off.
Oh, yes. Well, obviously, as a Salesian community, as a Salesian school, we've made progress in many things, but there are still things that are left behind. One of the things that I also had a conversation with the provincial today about is the lack of trips that our student body has. I was saddened to hear when me and my juniors visited the Manhattan College trip, that was the only trip that they had visited in 3 years of being at Salesian. And I think that trips increase morale, they motivate students to come to school, and they also teach us in different ways. And we used to have trips. We used to have trips to Washington, D.C. We used to have trips to different places that helped us learn better and motivate us more and spread our knowledge. And unfortunately, those things have not continued after COVID. And I want to continue those. So that's an addition that I would bring to Salesian.
Thank you for the response. Doesn't the honors program, the St. Francis de Sales honor program, already have trips that are given?
Yes. The St. Francis de Sales Honors Program does have many trips that are offered. Those are offered to a specific group of students in the St. Francis de Sales Honors Program. I believe that that group of students is not exclusive to benefiting from trips. I think that the general population also could benefit from trips. And I think that needs to be open to everyone at Salesian, not only a specific group of students that happen to be in the St. Francis de Sales Program.
All right, so considering, Joey, you were one of the main people who spearheaded the idea of the junior formal, what are your opinions on having events with other schools? Should we have more with schools such as that?
Not any school, thank you for the question. Not any school specifically, but I think, Derek and I and our campaign really being the driving force of the junior winter formal and seeing how well of a turnout we had. I think in future events, it's very important to get involved, not only in the Salesian community, but in other communities, kind of getting ourselves out there like we used to be. I remember talking to a lot of different teachers that graduated from Salesian that had different events with different schools, with different girls' schools or different boys' schools doing different community service projects or having different socials. I know that a lot of Salesian students with these sort of events would not only enjoy it, but want to have different type of social events like that.
All right, this question will go to Nickolas Massa. Do you think that values in Salesian have changed since your freshman year? If so, can you give me an example, and what can we do about it?
By values, what do you mean by values? like.
So values, for example, we always have the Salesian motto of Salesian is a home, school, parish, playground. Do you feel like any of those have changed? Any of like faculty ideals have changed? Anything like that?
Yeah, so I think when I came here in my freshman year, I heard about the brotherhood here. And I don't hear about that a lot anymore. Like around my junior class, I hear it just because we're just so close with each other. But like with some of the freshmen and the sophomores and even some of the seniors, I don't feel it, and I don't even hear it at times that they feel connected like that. So I definitely feel like that could be a big aspect we could be.
Bouncing off that idea, I want to ask you, what do you think we could do to kind of improve that relationship between the grade levels and to the Salesian brotherhood as a whole?
Well, the one thing that I think we have that's really good here is the Big Brother program. I think we should elaborate more on that. Get the seniors more involved with the freshmen and the sophomores, and even the juniors too. Yeah.
Do you think athletics have anything to do with the lack of bonding or brotherhood that you said that you said?
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, a few days ago, we spoke to Marissa, me and Angelo, and we kind of got down to the big details that we felt the student body needed for athletics. Turnout for games was always a big one. That could definitely improve morale for the school, of course. Better intramurals, of course, and he was also talking about adding new things to the gym, like pickleball and spike ball. So yeah, I think athletics really does have a lot to do.
I would like to add off to that point. I think that athletics is really one of the most important ways that students can bond with each other. I think that showing support for each other in athletics is just great. I think that's the way I've connected to many of the students, especially the freshmen who happen to be in sports teams, that I go to their games. And also, something that needs to change when it comes to athletics. I think that we need incentives to push people to show up to games and show support for Salesian. It just disappoints me to go to these games and see no one sitting down and cheering Salesian on. And one of the main reasons for that is because we make people pay to come to our games, and I think that needs to be removed. Instead of giving them incentives to come to the games, we make them pay just like we make Spelman pay to come to our games, and I think that needs to be removed and make athletics more powerful and closer.
I just want to respond to that as well. As somebody that is very active in the sports broadcasting club, as somebody that, like Jetmir, is also at almost all of the sporting events that we have, whether it's commentating that day or whether it's letting the freshmen take charge of commentating that day, and somebody who's also very active in communicating with the athletic freshmen that we have, I do have to agree that sports is such a huge thing, and it also does disappoint me, like Jetmir said, when I sit there and we get ready and we set everything up to commentate, and I look to my right, and throughout that hour, 2 hours that I'm there, not many people show up, especially not as many people that I think should show up, whether or not they like our sports teams or the product that they give us. It's important to realize that these are our brothers sitting there and trying as hard as they can. And I know there are people with obligations they have outside of the school and restrictions, but I also know that there are a lot of people that do not have restrictions and obligations outside of the school. And I feel like we need to rally them together to support our brothers that are out there on the field together.
To add on to both their points, being on the baseball team, being one of the star players, I think for me, at least watching, looking at the stands, for example, when I'm pitching or something like that, I think it's big morale building for at least a player to see my brothers or my classmates sitting and watching me and cheering me on, especially from the athletics standpoint. But I totally agree with Jetmir. There should be incentives in coming, and one of our programs that we really want to start, instead of not having students pay, we want to have a program where if we get a certain amount of students to come to a game, so for example, if you have 75 or 90 students to come to a certain basketball or a volleyball or a soccer game, they can get the opportunity for a dress down day. So we want to offer that to our students as well.
Yeah, I would like to add on. I agree with Jetmir about our sports. As a matter of fact, I do feel like more people should come to our games and actually take our sports seriously, because the difference between us and other schools is that, right, Salesian, we show the brotherhood, right, and with people having interest in our sports, that would actually improve our our school, it would improve the Salesian school in general. And yeah, that's basically it.
Bouncing off that idea of endorsing sports for Salesian, this question, I'll go to Nick Branca for this. So we have events like Eagle Mania, the football games we play during Thanksgiving, the Eagle Bowl, the Turkey Bowl, and the Spike Ball tournaments that we sometimes have. Do you think there's other sporting events that we should make in the school?
Well, yeah, of course. I think there should be other sporting events that would get the action going on in Salesian. It would make, Salesian more fun and actually more entertainment instead of just, just being in school all day doing nothing. I think it would be better for us to have more things like that, more events. Yeah. So as a matter of fact, yes, I do think so.
All right, we'll start off this next one with Daniel Brito. Considering you have spent all 3 years or so at Salesian as a junior, what's the main impression you have on Salesian as a whole? Like on faculty, extracurriculars, and school events? And then with things you see, how do you think that we can improve them?
Well, to first off start with my impression as somebody that has been a Salesian for 3 years, as you said, even as a freshman online for most of my years, as opposed to some of the people that decided to come in and were able to come in for freshman year. The impression I got from Salesian that year was that we're still an underdog school. We're that school that you may have a certain impression of that's not as high as others, but no matter what you think, we still reach to that expectation and we still get up above the ground that some people may think we cannot hit. Especially with the fact that a lot of schools closed during COVID and we somehow managed to stay up. And I also want to say, even you see it in sports, we end up coming out on top where some people think we don't, especially in education as well. We're a great school for education and we're a great school overall. And I do believe that we're very strong and we have a fortified sense of being a Salesian. And to speak about, you asked how I think we can improve it. I think we can improve it with support more to the student body, especially as we've all pointed out, support to the athletics program, support to our honors students who I think are amazing, and I would like to shout out them for putting all that hard work in, along with shouting out the athletics and the athletes that we have. So I think in order to improve us as a school, we need to first start with providing that support necessary for us to grow out of the concrete.
One question I'd like to ask Jetmir is that you mentioned how these field trips that we have for the St. Francis de Sales Honors Program should be extended to all the students. But it's to my understanding that with that program, there's a project at the end of it where you have to kind of say what you've gotten from that trip as a whole. Do you think if you were to extend this program to, not this program, but these trips to all people, that we should still keep that? And if so, should it be restructured since it's every student, not just the honor students?
Well, to clarify my answer from before, I did not say that I want to extend the program to all students. The question was raised that there are trips in that program, and I'm just saying that there should be trips for other students, not specifically those trips. And so the St. Francis de Sales Honors Program, obviously it's an honor to be in. You get the chance to go on trips, but most importantly, you get the chance of being in the program, and that therefore there's a project for that. I don't believe that unless trips are academically related, for instance, a trip to Washington, D.C. is obviously history related. So I could see a project at the end of that, but I think that we should have trips that are athletic related, college related, fun related, and that morale boosting trips for all our students. And I don't think that a specific group of students of 20 or 30 per grade in the St. Francis de Sales Honors Program are the only ones deserving of those trips.
Okay, so Nick Branca, you mentioned earlier how student council could be improved under leadership, you could be a good communicator between the student council and the student body. So how will you identify and address the concerns presented by the student body? And how do you envision working with the administration to create change?
You're asking how would I?
How would you how would you address the concerns presented by the student body, so like all of us students? And how do you envision working with the administration, like teachers, faculty, to implement the change?
Well, like I said before, right, I would just show the administration that when I'm in student council, I'll just do what I can do. Right? I could do what I could do to help Salesian better, and I would just show that how important student council is, basically.
All right, so we'll move on to one of the last questions. So considering that Salesian has, over the past couple of years that we've been here, we've had some privileges, some things that have been taken away due to our behavior. How do you think that we can move towards more privileges? Because I know, for example, the hoodies or the beards was a privilege that we all thought we should have, but considering that some of our students are disobeying these, walking and wearing different shoes, different hoodies, whatever, kind of breaking the rules, how do you think we can kind of manage the balance between having these privileges and being able to have some freedom? We'll start that question off with Nickolas.
So that one is really tough for me to answer because unfortunately there are going to be people who don't follow the rules, and I mean, for something as little as like wearing your hoodie in class, I think that maybe a first, talking to and then a detention is fine, but I don't have an answer to that question.
Gary?
Well, I think my answer to that question is clear. I brought my hoodie with me today because it's been sitting in the wardrobe for too long. And I think that our student body should have this privilege of wearing this hoodie. Why is that? Because statistically, this year we've had the lowest number of detentions. We've had the lowest number of students who are breaking the rules. I think that what more to that is there than what more do we need to do to deserve wearing the shirts that we very well paid for? I didn't pay for this to sit in my wardrobe. I paid for this to enjoy it, and it looks beautiful. And it looks beautiful when I'm wearing it, not when it's sitting in my wardrobe. So I will fight for every student to have the right to wear this, as well as other privileges, such as the senior beard privilege.
Yes, just to respond to that, it's important to understand that we have limitations that, of course, as Nickolas stated, we do have some students that disobeyed the rules freely. So how would you try to explain to them or better incentivize to them to kind of be more respectful and accommodating to the teachers and staff here?
Well, obviously the way that I would try to explain to them is the way that I have been explaining to them. I think Mr. Fraticelli would agree with me on this, that when you're breaking the rules, not only are you harming yourself by losing privileges like this, but you're harming the whole entire school community by doing stuff like that. And so how would I explain it to them? I would make it clear to them by singling them out and by telling them that these rules should not be broken, and by making clear to them that there are incentives to not breaking the rules. And so far there are no incentives to not breaking the rules, so therefore people will break the rules. I think that people would much rather not break the rules because of incentives rather than punishment. And I think that if we offer more incentives than punishment, that will push people to not break the rules, and it will allow us to enjoy privileges like that.
Just to expand on that point, I do completely agree with Jetmir that there's a lot of kids that feel like there is no reason for them to actually listen. And it all starts with the support at the foundation that we've all been talking about, whether it's athletics or any other curricular or extracurricular. It all starts with the support. If you support these children, and you, as a big brother especially, not only to those sitting next to me, as upperclassmen, the juniors, seniors, and the sophomores that are going to be juniors next year, to call out those underclassmen and anybody really that is breaking the rules or harming the school community, because it's important to realize that big brothers don't sit around and let their little brothers mess up. They sit there and they correct their mistakes, not harshly, not in a way that's demeaning, but in a way that's supportive, because the only way we live as Salesians is to stay as a family and a brotherhood that holds and supports each other. So I would like to make it very clear that through support, we can help them to realize that they don't need to do bad to have a good time and to have good things, because there's no incentive to do that.
Yeah, could I add on, when we were talking about the hoodies, right? Can I talk about that? I do agree with Jetmir. I was like, why would I spend all this money on a hoodie that I can't even wear into school, right? Why would I spend money on uniform that I can't even wear? All right, so I really think that we should get the privilege to get the sweaters back. So yeah, that's what I would like to say.
With that being the final question, I'd like to give you all a chance to give some brief closing remarks. First, we'll start off with Derek as Joe's replacement, as he had an event to be at right now.
Joey and I want to make sure that absolutely everyone is comfortable here, and this isn't just their school, it's what we go by. They're home, they're comfortable enough to feel that this is their home away from home. Again, their school, they come here to learn. Their parish, for them to reconnect with God. And their playground, that's for those involved in athletics or not, to come to games and show their love and support for their brothers and for their school and even for themselves. I want Salesian to be a great place for students to be able to express themselves as I was able to express myself completely differently than I felt I was able to in middle school. So I just want to make this a comfortable environment for absolutely everybody.
Well, basically, why everybody should vote for me, because first of all, I'm going to tell you what I do, because I got a lot of ideas. First of all, I want to attempt to explore the idea of, connecting more time with our sister schools and attempt to include other schools potentially as well. Right? I feel like we should just connect more with our sister schools, and we should do more activities with them. That's what I think. When I become president, what I'm going to do is, not only am I going to help Salesian better, right? Not just for this year, but I want to leave an impact. I want to leave a mark in Salesian, so people can remember me, not just the students, but the teachers as well, and they can say, "Oh yeah, Branca did that." Right? I want to make sure that not only Salesian is a school, but I want to make sure Salesian is the school under my policies. And when I do that, I want to welcome more people, because when people come into the school, I want them to say, wow, this is a good school, not just go into school, oh yeah, I got to listen to the teacher, the next thing you know, I got to go home. And then your parents ask you, how was school? Oh, it was boring. I want them to say, Salesian is the best.
Yeah, I am not running for president for myself. I am running for president for the school. I am running to make the school different. I want to run so that when someone comes into school, they can say, hey, I really like it here. Because too many kids come here without saying that. Too many kids come here every day waiting to go home. I just want to run, and I just want to be the best president that I can be for the students.
All right.
First, I want to say I do have a lot of ideas as well, as Nickolas Branca may have. One example, to just quickly state it off, is bringing back the Big Brother program. Or not the Big Brother program, I apologize for misspeaking, the Big Brother tutoring program, because I know a lot of freshmen and underclassmen and people in general have a lot of issues with certain subjects and certain schoolwork, so I would like to enforce the idea of Big Brothers nurturing as Big Brothers do. And to fully close out my statement, I would like to say that I've been here for 3 years, and not even around my best friends in 8th grade did I feel such a sense of brotherhood until I got to the school. That's when I really found out what brotherhood was. I mean, I had 2 brothers growing up, and I feel every day when I come in here that these are the younger and older brothers that I may have not had at that time. So I would like to remind everybody and enforce that whether or not you run for student council or whether or not you do something, I want to make sure you leave a mark that is Salesian and you are proud to come here and call yourself a Salesian.
Yes, so as my closing remarks, Salesian gave to me something that no other school has, and I've been around a lot of schools. And I transferred here as a sophomore, but the brotherhoods that I have made here, and the connections to even teachers that I have made here, I have not made anywhere else in my experience in life. And so I want to continue those brotherhoods, and I want to serve those brothers as president. And by doing so, making their experience at Salesian more motivating and fighting for them. I've been doing that in 8th grade as president. I've been doing that throughout my years at Salesian with anyone, anywhere, even outside of Salesian, for many of them. And I will continue to do that in student council by refusing to stop and fighting for what our Salesian brothers want and what they will get for being at Salesian. So thank you and good luck. I think that in this discussion, we left out a very important part, and that is the faculty. And who inspires me? And it was Raggle last year, and it is the teachers that I have, every single one of them this year. And they inspire me because they come into Salesian every single day and work hard to give us the life and the lessons that we all deserve. And so thank you to everyone who watched this, and thank you to our teachers for the hard work that they all do. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last closing remark. Thank you for watching the Salesian presidential debate. Please don't forget that pretty soon we're going to be voting. I'm pretty sure it's next week or in a week or two. So don't forget to fill out those polls. Thank you. It's a great day to be in Nickolas.